All right. Hey, everyone. This is Kit Cabello with Hard Lens Media, and we're just going to give a few short seconds for this live stream to build up. There's a lot going on, and I was quite surprised to see social media blow up early this morning with Jimmy Dore, as well as a few other progressive pundits who have been going back and forth against each other. And the thing is, right now we are dealing with a crisis in Congress right now, where we have the possibility of seeing Nancy Pelosi getting her speakership powers again. And of course, I think we all know the real problems with Nancy Pelosi and her leadership. She's a heavyweight champion in regards for corporate donations, but she is also somebody who has lost the Democrats so many seats in the United States Congress. And I also want to just give a real shout out to everyone that's joining us right now. Thank you so much for joining us. We got the wonderful live stream moderator, Mona Carmona, Miguel H., Nico House from Mikatsu Casa. Good to see you. And good friend of the show, Brandon Adams. So many wonderful people joining this live stream chat. And I think it's very important that we have this conversation. So first and foremost, as you can tell, we're going to be talking about Jimmy Dore. Shout out to Jimmy Dore. He's been a good friend of our show. We've interviewed him a few times. Check out those interviews after this live stream if you like. But, you know, he's onto something. We need to hold these progressive politicians accountable. Now, to be very clear, I think holding someone's feet to the fire, especially somebody like Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or Nancy Pelosi, they don't care. They're so stuck in their own bubble that putting pressure on them might not work. But however, what can work is the numerous progressive candidates that are currently in Congress, and we need to hold them accountable. They were elected for a reason. 2018 was the beginning of when we saw progressives and democratic socialists get into the United States Congress, and, you know, they need to start following through. So what exactly is going on? Well, Jimmy Dore has been advocating for putting pressure on the progressive candidates or progressive congressmen and women to withhold their vote until Medicare for All is actually enacted by Nancy Pelosi. This is a clever strategy to really call out the hypocrisy of the Democrats. Currently, as it stands right now, and we keep on repeating this on the show time and time again, number one, 30 to 40 million Americans are at risk of being evicted from their homes. Medical debt is one of the leading causes of homelessness in this country. And with COVID-19, you have people walking out of hospitals with either $100K to $1 million in medical debt. Now, I'm pretty sure there's no one I know in my inner circle that has that kind of money to pay off that kind of debt. And yet it's crippling a lot of Americans. We see across worldwide other countries that have single-payer health care, Medicare for all, some kind of universal health care. We don't have that. And a lot of these progressive congressmen and women that got into office ran on Medicare for all, progressive ideas and progressive issues. But now is the time for them to step up. When the people lead, that's when the leaders follow. And sadly, what we're seeing from the progressive congressmen and women right now is kind of silence. They're not showing up on independent media networks. They're not really addressing some of the issues that a lot of Americans are concerned about. Because look, this general election's over. Biden's been elected. Now what? Because going into 2022, if anyone thinks that the Republicans are not going to take advantage of the Democrats and their lack of actions, well, be prepared to see the Republicans take over Congress and the Senate. Already going into this, the Democrats have a majority, 219, but they went down to 230. And Jimmy Dore is saying, let's have the progressive candidates, progressive congressmen and women, to be more precise. Apologies for the candidates. I'm so used to this election cycle that I keep calling them candidates. But let's have the progressive congressmen and women withhold their vote to Nancy unless she enacts Medicare for all and proposes Medicare for all. We need to start forcing this on our elected officials. Our elected officials are stuck in their own swamp bubble. They've been on numerous amounts of vacation time. And Jimmy Dore's on point. We have to do this. If we don't do this now, more Americans are going to suffer. We need Medicare for all. We need medical debt forgiveness. We need a universal basic income. Now, these ideas are nothing to laugh at, yet corporate media chose to laugh at it. Now, I understand that Jimmy Dore is not really popular with larger progressive networks. We all know that Jimmy Dore was part of TYT. And yet, you would expect maybe TYT or other networks to be taking charge and calling out the progressive leaders in Congress so that they can do something. But since this is Jimmy Dore, and of course, a lot of progressives, especially who have a lot of influence, don't like to talk to Jimmy. It's interesting to see Anna Kasparian from TYT tweet this out this morning. It's one thing to debate strategies lawmakers like AOC should take. My issue with Dore is that I don't believe he's saying anything in good faith. It's incredible to witness his rage-filled demands of some lawmakers while he refused to hold Tulsi accountable for a damn thing. Okay. Somehow, all right, she has to drag Tulsi Gabbard in this. And I know Tulsi Gabbard is a very hot-button issue with a lot of progressives and independents. But at this point, why are you dragging Tulsi into this? And second of all, Jimmy Dore has been speaking truth to power for a long time. And he's been calling out the hypocrisy of Russiagate, the impeachment, and the very fact that we don't have election integrity in this country and the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. He's saying the correct things, and we've seen it firsthand how corporate media and the Democratic Party have bent over backwards into not doing anything or even covering stories that the people need to know about. So, Jimmy Dore, being Jimmy, definitely gave a 1-2 punch to TYT, which is something I did not expect to see. And Jimmy Dore tweeted this out. We also tweeted out on the Heartlands Media Twitter account page too, so you can see the tweet. And obviously, Jimmy Dore is teed off. I've never had an original idea in my life. Peddled McCarthyism and censorship for 4 years while taking $20 million of Cattsburg cash. Yes, this is a great idea, but Jimmy is still a meanie. I work for a guy whose biopic is named Mad as Hell, but Jimmy's rage is off-putting. And also he goes on to tweet as well, was a great honor to give a tongue bath to war criminal Madeleine Albright while I was uncritically repeating CIA talking points on Syria and Venezuela, while Jimmy was debunking me in real time in my own studio, including my smears of, well, the individual who's in Britain. I can't say who he is because of YouTube censorship, but that's not what this is about. So it really kind of sucks that, again, I have to be careful whose names we can and cannot say here on YouTube because the censorship and shadow ban is very real. And I don't understand, again, why a lot of progressive pundits are still, trying to go after Jimmy when he's been correct on a lot of issues, when he's been correct on calling out the Democrats and their lack of action. Now, the thing is, and this is something that we need to remember, these elected officials in Congress are public servants. They work for us, not the other way around. And when it comes down to this system that we have, I think a lot of Americans are used to the political system working just fine as it is. And a lot of people are unaware how incompetent and inept it is and how strong the corporate control over our Congress leaders are. Now, when you have someone like AOC, who basically came in with a lot of fanfare and respect, when she calls Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear, one has to wonder, why are you doing that? Nancy Pelosi has been in politics for 40 plus years. The reason why we have this neoliberal system right now is because of people like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Joe Biden, everyone. These politicians have been stuck in their little bubble for years. And if they wanted to enact Medicare for all or any other progressive policies, they would have done so, dare I say it, a decade ago. But they chose not to because they were happy to prostitute themselves to corporations. Now, this system that we have requires real change. And the only way we can really kind of do this right now is to call for these progressive congressmen and women to step up and fight for it, to basically hold people like Nancy accountable. What other action is there? If we want to do a general strike, that's fine, but it's hard to do a general strike when you don't have a job. It's hard to do a general strike when there is a clear pandemic that is happening. It's hard to do a general strike when no one in Congress is going to stand with you. So we have to hold these politicians accountable. We have to tell these congressmen and women, withhold your vote for Nancy. Yeah, Nancy might get elected, but no, we need to have a united coalition against the Democratic establishment and Republican establishment, because it's one big club and we're not in it. And when a network like TYT that did take $20 million of Cattsburg cash refuses to talk about, and I'm just going to say it, Julian Assange, or refuses to talk about, money, how the Democratic Party takes corporate money, and that right now Joe Biden himself has surrounded himself with a lot of corporate pundits. We need to really rethink how we do the next election, because 2022 and 2024 might not be very good for the left or progressives or independents. If we remain the same, if things don't fundamentally change, we're going to get somebody worse than Trump, and we still will not have Medicare for all. It's up to us to hold these politicians accountable. It's up to us to call them out. That's why Jimmy Dore has been trending on Twitter right now, because a lot of people do agree with him. We got to withhold the vote for Nancy. We have to do something. If the Democrats fail to do so, well, then it looks like Jimmy Dore was 100% correct on the Democratic Party and that there's no way to reform it. But then it comes down to what's the next step? Third parties or something else? Also, real quick, I want to acknowledge a YouTube super chat from Brandon Adams. My tweet was quoted by Justin Jackson and discussed on Jimmy's show. This proves hashtag squad stands would rather look like neo-libs than admit Jimmy is right. Yeah, Jimmy Dore is right. Jimmy Dore is absolutely correct. And this is the opportunity to really step up. This is the opportunity to say to the DNC establishment, you cannot do this anymore, and we will not bow down to you. But it doesn't help also when you have people who have a larger platform trying to punch down on Jimmy. He's been right about Russiagate. It was one big show. He was right about the impeachment. It was one big show. If they really wanted to impeach Donald Trump, if the Democrats really did, they would have gone after the emoluments clause. But, some of those Democrats would then have to be held accountable for their own corruption. And just a quick reminder to everyone that's watching this, Donald Trump is not going to be prosecuted. The Biden administration said they're already planning to move forward, and that's that. Same thing like how Obama did with Bush Jr. And remember, to Trump supporters, hey, he never locked up Hillary Clinton. See, it's all one big club. And so what do we do with the old guard? We withhold our votes from them. We got to put pressure on them in whatever which way we can, outside pressure. And that means activists, independents, progressives, community organizers, everyone must call up their progressive representatives or the progressives themselves that are in Congress right now and say, withhold your vote for Nancy. We need Medicare for all. People are dying. People are suffering. Again, 30, 40 million Americans are at risk of being evicted from their homes. You have medical debt. We have student debt. We don't have a strong economy right now. The economy is hurting a lot of Americans, and we don't have universal basic income. And we need it now. We need direct stimulus checks. A one-time $1,200 cannot last anyone 6 months, and we've been going months without it, but yet our elected officials go on vacation. Our elected officials are saying, everyone calm down. And let us not forget, too, that Nancy Pelosi did have the opportunity to actually make sure we get more stimulus checks, but she chose not to because she wanted to hurt Trump. Guess what? Donald Trump didn't feel anything. He doesn't care. But you want to know who you did hurt, Nancy? You hurt working class families. And that's why Jimmy Dore calls out the Democratic establishment, because they're just as corrupt as the Republican establishment. They're just really good at putting on this neoliberal mask, and we need to call them out. So when Jimmy Dore says, hey, let's call our progressive leaders, let's call our progressive congressmen and women, let's do it. But also at the same time, too, to larger networks, you can do that too. And that's why I'm very proud that Jimmy Dore actually did call out TYT. Because that $20 million of Cattsburg cash, why would you take it from a Clinton donor? And the Clintons already have their own problems. With that being said, I want to thank all of you so much for joining us. It's quite clear that the Democratic establishment and those who have a larger platform are still choosing not to listen. It's up to the people to step up. It's up to the people to demand more. It's up to the people to scream and shout and say, we want justice. We want Medicare for all. We want universal basic income. We want student debt forgiveness. We want medical debt forgiveness. We got to do something now. And if we don't raise our voices up, we may never be able to speak out again, because this establishment will keep on pushing forward. And to the progressives that are in Congress, you were elected for a reason. The people want to see you fight. And that means going up against the Democratic establishment too. It's easy to punch at the Republican establishment, but when they take the same kind of corporate donations, the Democrats, when they take the same corporate donations that the Republicans get, it's quite clear you're dealing with a monolith, a single entity that is only there to serve the top 1%. And to the progressive congressmen and women, you have to push back against it. If you don't push back against it, nothing will fundamentally change. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Harlan's Media is live every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're also live on our Rockfin channel every Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we talk more about controversial stories and individuals that are speaking truth to power, and we don't have to worry about YouTube censorship there. Also, be sure to check us out on Twitter. With that being said, peace to you guys, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.